Welcome back to another Rise of Kingdoms video, everyone. I have got a treat for you. I have the English version of Alexander Nevsky's full skill description in English, no translations. This is how it's going to show up in game unless, I've been told this very specifically, unless there are changes to the commander before release. These are what the skills are going to be if no changes happen in English from the developing team. Okay, so this is what you're going to be getting in the game, assuming nothing changes. If something does change, make sure you come back here. I will make sure to update everybody and make sure everybody's aware of what's going on. But let's go through all 4 regular skills and the expertise. Let's start with number 1, Hero of Pipus. We got direct damage dealing of 2300 damage factor. That's really, really good. Obviously, the closest thing to that is going to be an Edward of Woodstock. However, there's only a 1000 rage requirement right now. So with that being said, this has got to be one of the largest single damage dealing target commanders in the game for the rage requirement that you've got. Now, obviously, there are other commanders in the game that can do up to that, or maybe even a little bit more, like say Frederick can actually do 2400 damage over 3 seconds. This is the only one, though, that I'm aware of, or the biggest one that I'm aware of that can actually do it all at once in one fell swoop. And as if that wasn't enough, they went ahead and said, okay, you're going to get 2300 damage factor, but also we're going to give you the ability to reduce your target's defense. So reduces their defense by 15 times the number of enemies surrounding the target. So if this is an open field situation and you have all 5 of your marches swarming that target, there's a maximum of 3. So you will effectively, when this skill goes off, give your target a negative 45% defense debuff. That's massive. That is massive. Absolutely crazy. Now, if this is a rally situation, the only other way this is going to work out for you is if there are additional rallies on the target, that would be considered surrounding the target, and you would get that extra defense reduction as well. Something to consider. Maybe start to think about that one troop debuff group that we talked about. Video link up in the description above me. You may want to think about having multiple people do that with an Alexander Nevsky rally. You'll have those as a surrounding situation. Every time you hit a target with that one troop, it will be considered surrounded by 2. And if you have multiple troops hitting at the same time, it'll stack up 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. As long as it doesn't run out and you have a constant stream of one troop marches hitting it, it will be counting as surrounding, and you'll be able to put a negative 45% debuff for defense on your rally target, which is absolutely crazy. This skill alone makes this commander a must-have, okay? But then the rest are really good too, so let's go ahead and go to number 2. Expeditionary cav units led by this commander gain 20% increased attack and 20% increased march speed. Now, obviously from a rally situation, the march speed doesn't really do too much good. 20% attack is average. It's not that much. However, you're going to do 20% attack and also gain 20% increased health outside of Alliance territory, which is what you should be using this commander for. Rallying things, which is going to be off of your territory, certainly, whether it's a pass, a flag, a city, usually. And then open field, you should be pushing the initiative. You should be pushing the targets, and that means you should be on their territory, or at least not on your territory, in that no man's land between your territory and their territory. That's what Nevsky's for. They're going to give you that extra 20% health. And again, this is more, to me, a rally skill than anything else. Even though it's got the march speed, it gives a little bit of open field benefit. But for the most part, the 20% attack, 20% health is for your rallies, which is really, really good. Number 3, we got Guard of the Republic. Cav units led by this commander gain 20% increased defense. So many stats, guys. So many stats, and we're not even done yet. Troops led by this commander deal 10% increased damage to and take 5% reduced damage from surrounded targets. So the same thing that we did earlier, right? Where we had a target that's surrounded. On the open field, if you are swarming a target, you will do a couple things with this skill. 1, you will have more increased defense just flat out, okay? 2, because of the swarm, the target that you're swarming is surrounded. If that's the case, you're going to deal with this march only, okay, an increase of 10% all damage to that target, and this march will also take 5% less damage because that target is surrounded. This is only troop march specific. This is not for all your marches. This is not a debuff on your target. This is for your march only. I just want to be clear, because sometimes the wording can make it to where it's a debuff and then everybody gets involved in the benefits. This is not the case here. This is for just your march with Alex Nevsky. But again, this is a very strong skill. It's a must-have skill. 20% defense, 10% increased damage to a swarm target, and reduction of the damage coming back to you from that target by 5% as well. Again, this applies on a rally situation if you've got multiple rallies on a target, or if you're streaming in those one troop debuff marches and you have that target surrounded. Even a 1 surround should trigger this. I don't see a requirement of having 5 or 10. It seems like if you only have one more march or one more troop debuff hitting your target, this will proc and you'll have that extra 10% bonus damage and 5% bonus damage reduction. Pretty sweet. Number 4, Knight of Iron. When troops led by this commander consist only of cavalry, which should always be the case, skill damage is increased by 25% flat. That's nice. That's a pretty good deal there. It's basically a Sun Tzu 4th skill right off the bat. A little bit better, actually. Skill damage is increased further by an additional 35% for 4 seconds upon casting an active skill. This effect can trigger at most once every 5 seconds. This means Alex needs to be second. Alex needs to be secondary. Alexander Nevsky, should be calling him Nevsky, needs to be secondary. Reason being, he's got the biggest damage factor in the game for a single target commander. What you're looking at here, again, you want to have the bigger damage factor secondary so that you can get that after the skill damage is cast. We need to figure out, however, if this applies on the turn that you cast the active skill, or if it only applies after the active skill is cast on the next turn. So we need to figure that out. A quick test will answer that question. No problem. As soon as he pops out and somebody gets the 4th skill opened up, which shouldn't be that hard to do, we'll be able to test this out and confirm whether you need to have him as a secondary or whether you need to have him as a primary. But as I'm reading it, this to me says that once an active skill is cast, the next 4 turns will have an active skill bonus of 35% skill damage. And again, that would to me mean that he needs to be secondary. Now, if it applies on the first one, you actually want to have Nevsky first so that Nevsky gets it and the secondary gets it. We'll see how it plays out on how exactly that works, but I'm thinking it's reading like Nevsky needs to be secondary. But again, continue to follow the channel. We'll make sure that you know what you need to do when it comes to placement on Nevsky for primary or secondary. Let's look at expertise. Winter's Storm, it's a new skill. It's not even an augmented other skill. He gets more stuff. So troops led by this commander deal 5% increased normal attack damage, which is nothing crazy. It is nice, but it's nothing crazy. And gain a 10% chance to increase the health of cav units by 30% for 3 seconds when attacked. This, however, is really good. And this reason it's so good is because you're getting attacked every second. If it's just one target, you're getting attacked every second. If you're getting swarmed, you're getting attacked 5 times a second. This is going to proc all the time, okay? The effect can trigger at most once every 5 seconds, which means that 60% of the time, this expertise will be active, which is great. All the expertises for commanders, we want to see maximum uptime, maximum availability for the expertises. Now, is this mission critical? Probably not. The 30% health is very nice, but you need to kind of rely on it activating when you need it most, which is usually before some kind of major damage is coming into you. If you've already gotten the major damage hit, then the health comes in, it's actually not that beneficial for you. At least for 2 turns there, you're looking at maybe not having really much benefit at all. But when you're getting a massive damage spike coming in, if you get this procced right before, this will be very beneficial, especially in a rally situation, guys. Very beneficial for you when you're talking about getting a good bonus from your expertise. And again, the 5% normal attack damage is always just kind of nice. Really what you're going for here is that 30% health buff when you're talking about your army itself. Let's go and talk about just some of the real world applications as well for Nevsky and kind of figure out what benefits he's going to have to the game going forward. Looking for skills that don't require you to be in a structure, or don't require you to be in a rally, or don't require you to be in a map, right? So first skill is open, second skill is open, third skill just requires cav units led by this commander, troops led by this commander. That's open. Fourth skill, when the troops led by this commander consist only of cav, which is always the case. So that's open. And then the fifth skill, the expertise, is open, meaning Alex can be used in all three phases of the game. He can be used as a rallier, which he should going forward. A great pair with XY, a great pair with Chandra. We need to do some testing to see which one's best. Yes. He can obviously also be used on the open field. His second skill here with the march speed bonus and the attack bonus and all the stuff, health bonus when outside of Alliance territory, very, very strong. Very, very strong. But he can also be used for garrison. And this is going to be really cool because this with the Jadwiga, this may actually be the beater of YSS when it comes to Jadwiga YSS as a garrison lead. Saladin's already pretty darn close, and he's a second gen commander. This is your latest gen commander for cavalry, and I think he's going to do a very great job. He's got cav and skill on the no garrison, just the versatility talent tree. So I mean, he's not meant to be primary, really, in my opinion, for any of these situations. He should be secondary, and especially considering if I see a Nevsky on the field, I'm going to try and destroy him as quickly as possible because he does some serious damage. I don't want him pumping out all that damage on any of my marches, so I want to get rid of him ASAP. That's just something I think you should consider. But again, usable on all three phases of the game, and I think he will be meta going forward for cavalry. I'm not saying he's going to be world-beating meta for the entire game, but he will be cav meta when it comes to being used in all three phases of the game. He's going to be a universal commander. He doesn't have the tankiness of a Saladin per se, because again, the reason Saladin has stayed around for so long is not only because of the damage that he puts out, but also the survivability. He's got a lot of defense. He's got a lot of skill damage taken reduction. He's got that kind of thing. Pairing up with Takeda, he's got some heals. Pairing up with Double C, he's got some heals. That kind of thing. Alex is more offensive based, but he has a lot of health stats, which will overall help your tankiness. It won't be as directly noticeable as, say, a Saladin, but it will be noticeable to some extent. He will be tanky, and pairing Saladin with Nevsky might not be a bad idea for the open field. Again, XY, another great example of a pair. William, Nevsky would work out really well. Nevsky William would work out really well. I miss having a conquering tree. That's the only downside to Nevsky that I see. I see versatility, which is basically a hot garbage talent tree. So that's null and void. You're going to go either full skill and then cav up to Emblazoned Shield, or you're going to go full cav for the most part. I still don't like the top cav skill. And then you're going to take Clarity and Rejuvenate on the skill tree and forego Feral Nature. I love Feral Nature, especially on this build where you want to be pumping out as much damage as possible, especially if you got XY on this bad boy. You're going to be casting so many skills. Oh my god. This is definitely going to be a guy that you want to have in your repertoire if you're going to be spending some points or spending some time or resources, speed ups, etc. to win anything. Nevsky is definitely a good investment as long as his skills stay the same. Now if they change them, we'll make an update video on this and say maybe we need to take a second thought on it, but right now, as he stands, he will definitely be one of the meta commanders for cavalry. Do not sleep on this guy. I'm sure a lot of you people have already heard the rumblings of how he's OP. I don't know if he's OP per se. I still think he's got a lot of things that could go wrong with him, but he's got the makings of, again, the meta for your rally, a piece of the meta for your rally. And again, you're going to see him as prevalent as a William on the open field. So very, very strong. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. I hope this has been helpful. See you guys next time. Cheers. Have a good one and take care.